all of this. Now, Gordon Sondland did have communication with the president, and Gordon Sondland told us that the president was in on all of it. The Office of Budget and Management, in their in their emails that were disclosed, say that the direction to hold the aid came right from the president. And so there already is firsthand accounts, but the most important firsthand accounts, not coincidentally, have chosen not to bring themselves before Congress. That's why the Senate needs to force them to come and give that testimony.
Also, somewhat of an odd coincidence that the one phone call that Sondland says he had with the president, where the president said all the right things, he doesn't have a record of it. The White House doesn't have a record of it. The State Department won't provide a record of it. We don't even know if that call even ever happened. Do you believe, Parnas?
Listen, I don't know, whether Lev Parnas is completely credible, except for the fact that everything that he has said is consistent with the testimony given by the witnesses in the House. We have known for a long time that everyone involved in U.S.-Ukraine policy was working towards the same goal. And that goal was to get the Ukrainians to interfere in the 2020 election and to withhold their access to the White House and their access to taxpayer-funded aid until they agreed to it. Lev Parnas fills in some of the details about how that was operationalized, but nothing he has said is inconsistent with the testimony from the House. And so in that regard, he looks like a very credible witness.
I think it's likely that if he's on the stand, he gets sliced up like cheese, given what else he is accused of. But the documents will stand on their own. I just don't know how you guys, you men and women, can honor the oath and ignore testing all this stuff. It seems to be, by definition, the job. Senator Chris Murphy, obviously, literally, the world is watching. Good luck in discharging your duty.
Thanks, Chris.
All right. So, again, nobody has any responsibility put on them in a criminal trial to prove their own innocence. All right. We are innocent until proven guilty. This ain't a criminal trial. And as we both know, if you had proof that the charges against you, the investigation against you was wrong, everybody puts that proof up, but not here. Why doesn't the president? And how can anyone not want to see this information tested? Knock down what's not true. Knock down what doesn't stand up. But isn't that the job? A Republican in Congress makes the case. Next.
You want to tell me what this is all about?
As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my life and realize there's nothing left. Cause I've been blasting and laughing so long that even my mama thinks that my mind is gone. But I ain't never crossed a man that didn't deserve it. Me be treated like a punk, you know that's unheard of. You better watch how you're talking and where you're walking, or you and your homies might be lying in chalk. I really hate the trip, but I gotta low. As they croak, I see myself in the pistol smoke. Fool, I'm the kind of G the little homies wanna be like, on my knees in the night, saying prayers in the street light. Been spending most of their lives living in the gangster's paradise. We've been spending most of their lives living in the gangster's paradise. We keep spending most of our lives living in the gangster's paradise. We keep spending most of our lives living in the gangster's paradise. Look at the situation they got me facing. I can't live a normal life. I was raised by the state, so I gotta be down with the hood team. Too much television watching got me chasing dreams. I'm an educated fool with money on my mind. Got my tin in my hand and a gleam in my eye. I'm a loped out gangster, set tripping banker, and my homies is down, so don't arouse my anger. Fool, death ain't nothing but a heartbeat away. I'm living life, do or die. What can I say? I'm 23 now, but will I live to see 24? The way things is going, I don't know. Tell me why are we so blind to see that the ones we hurt are you and me? We've been spending most of our lives living in the gangster's money and the power. Minute after minute, hour after hour, everybody's running, but half of them ain't looking what's going on in the kitchen. But I don't know what's cooking. They say I got to learn, but nobody's here to teach me. If they can't understand it, how can they reach me? I guess they can't, I guess they won't, I guess they front. That's why I know my life is out of luck, fool. Been spending most of their lives living in a gangster's paradise. We've been spending most of their lives living in a gangster's paradise. We keep spending most of our lives living in a gangster's paradise. We keep spending most of our lives living in a gangster's paradise. Tell me why are we so blind to see that the ones we hurt are you and me? Tell me why are we so blind to see that the ones we hurt are you and me?
You don't need a crime to impeach. That's not just true now. It's not a new reckoning. It has always been that way. It also doesn't really matter here. If criminal activity is what the bar is going to be, you have it. This was potentially bribery. This was potentially a violation of what the GAO identified today. The president putting his politics ahead of the mandate of Congress with respect to aid. That violates the law. Now, the biggest problem is abuse of power. We know now, again, all of this has come up since the impeachment ended. The OMB, the Office of Management and Budget, they have emails that show it was our president that directed that the aid be held up. I know he's been saying other things. It's not true. The emails rule in this situation. We also have a pair of firsthand witnesses, Mr. Bolton and Mr. Parnas, willing to testify. Can you try a case if you don't accept the facts as given to you by the House and you refuse to develop the facts yourself? Is that a trial? Let's bring in Congressman James Comer from Kentucky. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Let's leave all conclusions and what everything means. Just put it to the side for a second. The idea of a trial having witnesses seems common sense to me. What am I missing?
No, I think that's common sense. But you go back to the House and ask the question, why didn't the House subpoena witnesses? They could have done that. They could have gone through the court process and they could have subpoenaed anyone they wanted.
They did.
So I think that we're asking now the Senate to take care of the House's shoddy work with impeachment. And, you know, I'm not sure that the senators are going to do that. We'll all find out very soon.
I get the talking point, but what I'm saying is they did subpoena, right? People fought the subpoena, which I would argue doesn't have a lot of legal sufficiency. They went to court on one of them. They realized this is a delay tactic that is being in part motivated by the president, and they decided not to waste the time. And even if, let's accept your argument for a second, the House should have done it a different way and didn't. They did a lousy job. Let's stipulate to that fact.
I agree with that.
The Senate, I'm sure, great. The Senate has its own job to do. And there is no standard that, well, we don't like the way they did their job, so we're going to do our job in a lousy way also. If you're not going to accept the fact record from the House, how can you try a case against the president without developing your own facts?
Well, I've always said I would love to see witnesses like Hunter Biden. I think most Republicans would like to know what exactly Hunter Biden's qualifications were to get to
Does Hunter
serve on that
Biden
board of
know
that
anything
Ukrainian
about what the president is charged with?
Well, the genesis of the whole Ukrainian investigation is the question, what did Hunter Biden have to add to that Ukrainian energy company? Was there a quid pro quo with then Vice President Joe Biden? That's the big question that, you know, at least 50% of Americans have right now.
Right. Well, look, 50% of Americans are divided on everything, frankly, because of a dialogue, the direction you're coming from. Hunter Biden has nothing to do with the allegations against the president. You want to investigate Hunter Biden. If the president wanted to investigate Hunter Biden, go ahead. Go to the attorney general and ask him to do it, which the president could certainly do. So could you. Or you're not in control in the House. Go to the Senate and have them investigate Hunter Biden. He's a U.S. citizen. What you don't do, Congressman, this is the question. Do you ask a foreign country with a foreign company to investigate a United States citizen? Has that ever been done before?
President's, I would hope that it's been done before. If you're giving foreign aid to a country and you suspect that there's been corruption involved, I strongly support President Trump trying to determine if there was corruption committed by then Vice President Joe Biden. Was there corruption on behalf of Ukraine for particular companies, energy companies that are paying Americans for intelligence?
But why would you ask the corrupt country? Here's what doesn't make sense. You don't ask the corrupt guys to help you find the corruption. And even if you were silly enough to ask that, you certainly wouldn't give them the money for just an announcement, right? Because if you don't trust me, why would you trust an announcement? You'd want to see proof of performance. The only way this makes sense, Congressman, is if what the president wanted was the stink on Biden. He didn't put these strings on aid before Biden was running, only after. But my question to you comes this. Let's say we have a good faith dispute. I'm not sure who's right, you or me. Shouldn't there be witnesses besides Hunter Biden? What about Lev Parnas? He says, I did this for the president through Rudy Giuliani. Here's the letter. Here's all the emails. Here's what we were doing. You're not curious about that at all?
Well, that's a very serious allegation by Parnas. The problem that the Democrats have with Parnas is the same problem they had with Michael Cohen. They're both felons. And when your star witness is a felon who is probably trying to make some type of deal for a plea bargain for reduced time, it really delegitimizes your witness.
Makes it way easy for you to test them then, doesn't it? First of all, he's indicted. He's not found to be a felon. I guarantee you he does have credibility issues. So does the President of the United States. So does the fact that you guys say you want firsthand witnesses, but now in the Senate you can call them and compel them. You can't hide, like the President hid them in the House. Can't do that in the Senate. Why wouldn't you want to talk to Mulvaney? You want to talk to Hunter Biden, who has nothing to do with it. Why don't you want to talk to Mulvaney, Bolton, and Pompeo, who have everything to do with it?
I don't have a problem if they do talk to Bolton in particular. But the question remains, why didn't the House do that? You mentioned that
they tried.
Pelosi
they were
decided.
blocked.
Well, they were blocked. You said, but they would have eventually probably been successful in court. They were in a hurry to get this impeachment done, and then they sat on the impeachment for a month. So
we have an election.
In that big of a hurry?
Well, they didn't sit on it for a month. There's always a delay. And again, I stipulate to you, just for the sake of argument, let's say the House didn't do their job the right way. I don't think it's fair to say they could have gotten these people as witnesses and didn't. We both know that's not true. But I'm saying regardless, you can get them now. The only person who doesn't want you to have them is the president, which is odd, seeing how he says they'll all prove he didn't do anything wrong. Let me ask you something. God forbid, Congressman, you were accused of doing something wrong. And you had somebody who could prove you weren't where the investigators say you were. And you had someone else who could prove you didn't do what they were investigating. Would you hide those people?
No, I would not.
Why is the president?
But I think the president's been very forthcoming through this whole process. The president's very frustrated. You know, this all started with
I get it's frustrating. It's frustrating to be impeached.
I know.
It's frustrating to be impeached,
It started with collusion with Russia. It started with
messing with foreign powers, and all of you agreeing at the end, you shouldn't do that. The day after Mueller testified to that and everybody said it's true, he made the call to Zelensky and did exactly that. And the only thing I have to push back on, Congressman, we both know this president has not been forthcoming. He has hidden the witnesses, he has hidden the documents, and he has never even come close to testifying himself. That's not forthcoming. Do we agree?
I think the president, no. I think the president's been very forthcoming with the media. I don't ever remember a president having.
He won't do a single interview about these things. He won't do a single press conference with the press secretary. He only goes to state news. He won't come on here and be questioned fairly. How is that being forthcoming?
Well, this is a hard place to do interviews. I enjoy watching CNN. I tell people I watch CNN and Fox an equal amount of time and take that information and average them together and get a pretty good analysis of what's going on.
Has this
But
been a fair
with
interview,
respect-
Congressman?
It has been a fair interview, and I watch your show.
It's like
quite a
this
bit.
all the time. If the president wanted time, I'd give him the entire hour to make his case to the
Right.
American people. But he hasn't
Well,
done
I'm
that.
gonna
And he
say
hasn't allowed others to
probably-
do it.
Yeah.
He won't
He
do it.
probably won't.
I know. He
probably
enjoys
won't
to
come on the show,
spend. He enjoys to spend his time getting people to attack me and my family instead. What I'm saying is this, Congressman. Thank you for coming on the show.
But the president does. Well, thank you, and I'll close by saying this: the president does do more interviews than I've ever seen any president do, and I think he's very frustrated with this whole process. It is partisan. The vote in the House was without a single Republican, and even a couple of Democrats joining the Republicans. So I understand the president's frustration, and hopefully this trial will come to a quick conclusion.
If there are no witnesses, that is not going to help this country come to any kind of source of consensus about what happened here. We can differ about the president, but what we both know matters is trying to get the best obtainable version of the truth. Let's hope that happens. And Congressman, you're always welcome here to make the case. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
All right. So one of the things that we have to look at here is the president told you, I don't know, Parnas, I take lots of pictures with lots of people. Fair point. But this ain't just some picture at some random party. Lev Parnas says, oh, no. He's lying to you. And that he was part of something the president knew, developed, and directed that was all about getting Biden. Now, what does Parnas really have to offer? What are the challenges to it? What does it mean to the case? Let's get real investigators in here to look at it. McCabe and Baker, next.
I ain't happy, I'm feeling glad I got sunshine in a bag. I'm useless, but not for long, the future is coming on. I ain't happy, I'm feeling glad I got sunshine in a bag. I'm useless, but not for long, the future is coming on. It's coming on, it's coming on, it's coming on, it's coming on.
Finally, someone let me out of my cage. Now, time for me is nothing cause I'm counting no A's. Nah, I couldn't be there. Nah, you shouldn't be scared. I'm good at repairs and I'm under each snare. Intangible. Bet you didn't think, so I command you to. Panoramic view. Look, I'll make it all manageable. Pick and choose, sit and lose. All you different crews, chicks and dudes who you think is really kicking tunes. Picture you getting down in a picture tube. Like you lit the fuse. You think it's fictional, mystical, maybe. Spiritual hero who appears in you to clear your view when you're too crazy. Lifeless to those, the definition for what life is. Priceless to you because I put you on the hype shit. You like it? Gun smoke, you're righteous with one toe. You're psychic among those, possess you with one go.
I'm happy, I'm feeling glad I got sunshine in a bag. I'm useless, but not for long, the future is coming on. Ain't happy, I'm feeling glad I got sunshine in a bag. I'm useless, but not for long, the future is coming on. It's coming on, it's coming on, it's coming on, it's coming on.
The essence, the basics, without it you naked. Allow me to make this childlike in nature. Rhythm, you have it or you don't, that's a fallacy, I'm in them. Every sprouting tree, every child of peace, every cloud and sea. You see with your eyes and see destruction and demise. Corruption in the skies from this enterprise. Now I'm sucked into your lives through rust, so not his muscles, but percussion he provides with me as a guide. Y'all can see me now cause you don't see with your eye. You perceive with your mind, that's the end. So I'ma stick around with Russ and be a mentor. Bust a few rhymes so motherfuckers remember what the thought is. I brought all this so you can survive when law is lawless. Feeling sensations that you thought was dead. No squealing, remember.
Hey, I'm feeling glad I got sunshine in a bag. I'm useless, but not for long. The future is coming on. Hey, laughing. I'm feeling glad I got sunshine in a bag. I'm useless, but not for long. My future is coming on. It's coming on. It's coming on. It's coming on. It's coming on. My future is coming on. It's coming on. It's coming on. My future is coming on. It's coming on. It's coming on. My future.
"24 hours. That's how much time Lev Parnas says he gave the newly elected Ukrainian president to publicly announce an investigation into the Bidens. Can you believe that this guy was representing your interests, supposedly, in Ukraine? Parnas says he delivered the message to a top aide of Zelensky, made clear that if Ukraine didn't do it, Vice President Pence would be a no-show at Zelensky's inauguration. The next day, when there was no Biden announcement, guess what happened? Pence's trip was canceled. Let's dig into what this guy has to offer and what are the limitations and what does it mean to this case. Andrew McCabe and Jim Baker. Gentlemen, thank you. Andrew, on the upside, when you look at the package of documents and the potential testimony in the form of interview from Parnas, what's the plus minus?
Plus minus is, of course, the documents. Anything that he has that can substantiate or corroborate the story that he's telling, that's really the lane that you want to keep Parnas in as a witness. He's got a lot of credibility issues, not the least of which are the federal charges he's currently facing, which include false statement charges. But the pieces of his story that you can tie back to documents or even that handwritten note from the Ritz-Carlton in Vienna, you should be able to take that note.
Why does that note matter? Why isn't it just scribblings that could have meant nothing, he could have gotten wrong, he could have been lying about?
Because it's a contemporaneous recollection of what he was hearing on a telephone conversation, according to him. You could then match that note up to the booking record of proving that he was, in fact, in the hotel at that time. You could also compare it to his phone records from the days he was there and show how many times he talked to Rudy Giuliani during that stay. So there's different ways that you could begin to bolster that testimony, and it makes that record speak more clearly.
And Jim, what do you think it speaks to in terms of the record? What does he help establish?
Well, he provides additional corroboration to the main story that the House is telling through the articles of impeachment and through the various hearings. He's corroborating the story that other witnesses talked about. He's not contradicting them in major part or really in any way that I've heard so far that's significant. And so all of the evidence continues to point in the same direction. And so that lends credibility and corroboration to all of the witnesses, because they're all the ones who are testifying against the president. They're being generally consistent, and that's something that in a normal trial, jurors would take into consideration in evaluating the credibility of the evidence and how much weight to give it.
By the way, Jim, you ever heard of a trial with no witnesses and no testimony put on?
Not that I can think of, no.
I keep being told by Republicans, no, you can do that. It happens, it's just quick.
Well,
have you ever heard? I've never heard of that. I can't even find one.
Not without a witness, right? You've got evidence is not always through the mouth of a witness, right? You have documents and physical evidence and tests and all this kind of stuff. But you've got to have evidence. You've got to have witnesses in there to explain what it all means, to explain it to the jury. Sometimes you have agents summarize that kind of thing, but I've never heard of a trial without witnesses.
I told you guys when you were making the transition from what you used to do into this world, there would be certain things that are just crazy to your ears. The idea that they're going to reject the fact record from the House, okay, never been done before, but okay, and say, well, we're not going to establish our own either. That's something that doesn't exist in your world, but it does in this, potentially. All right, so I actually think once you got the emails from the OMB saying that the president said hold the aid until this gets done, I think the analysis is over. I think all that's left is to talk about the consequence. But let's say Parnas becomes relevant. This guy has credibility problems out the wazoo.
He does.
Coop asked him, people aren't going to believe you about this. And he said, well, I just want to tell the truth. That's the only question he's been asked, okay? This has been one of those situations where if you want Parnas, the questioning is going to go a certain way. If he's in front of this tribunal, though, they're going to slice him up about why he was doing this stuff with these donations. And What does that mean? Because we know what the indictment shows about why he was involved over there. The guy's sinister. He's out for his own pocket. He's got a lot of dirty friends. Does that kill him, or do the documents save him?
I mean, that's the question in the minds of the jurors, right? That's part of their responsibility, is to assess the truth and veracity of the witnesses. There is no doubt that if he testifies, they will go after him. They've got tons of information to use against him. The current charges, of course, of being part of that. He has an illustrious business history with all kinds of litigation issues, problems with other business interests and things along those lines. So he is going to get beaten up bad. The things that save him are those things that corroborate his testimony, the documents. And I would also say the fact that some of the things that Parnas is saying happened, we know did in fact happen. So when he shows up the day before and lays out that threat that if there's no announcement, Pence isn't going to come to the inauguration, and he doesn't get the announcement he's looking for, and the next day Pence is canceled, that is a powerful series of events that I think goes to some degree to bolster his credibility. One thing's
for now pretty clear. He's not just Rudy's associate. He's not just some guy who was used for side things. He was part of the main dish. Andrew, thank you very much. Jim, we will wait and watch. Hopefully they do their job seriously, have a real trial, and we'll bring you guys in, help us understand it through the way. Thank you, gentlemen.
Sounds
All right,
good.
moving forward. There is one thing we have to stop doing where Lev Parnas is involved and create a new understanding of what we now know is the reality. I will argue that to you, why, what it means, next.
Standing in line to see the show tonight, and there's a light on, heavy glow. By the way, I tried to say I'd be there, waiting for Danny the girl is singing songs to me beneath the marquee. Overload. Stick knife, car chop, con job, boot cut. Skin that flick, she's such a little DJ. Get that quick, my street, but not the freeway. Turn that trick to make a little leeway. Beat that nick, but not the way that we play. Dog town, bloodbath, rib cage, soft tail. Standing in line to see the show tonight, and there's a light on, heavy glow. By the way, I tried to say I'd be there, waiting for. Blackjack, dope dick, pawn chop, quick pick. Kiss that dyke, I know you want the whole one. Not on strike, but I'm about to bow one. Bite that mic, I know you never stole one. Girls that like the story, so I told one. Salford, mean line, cashback, hot top. Standing in line to see the show tonight, and there's a light on, heavy glow. By the way, I tried to say I'd be there, waiting for Danny the girl is singing songs to me beneath the marquee. Oversold. By the way, I tried to say I'd be there, waiting for. Kissing in the mood, kissing in the mood, kissing in the mood, kissing in the mood. glow. By the way, I tried to say I'd be there, waiting for
15 minutes to report.
I'm going to take off. Now, you downloaded the TD Ameritrade mobile app so you can quickly check the markets?
Yeah, actually, I'm taking one last look at my dashboard before we board.
Excellent. And you have Thinkorswim mobile?
So I can finish analyzing the risk on this position.
You two are all set. Have a great flight.
Hey, thanks.
We'll see you. They're getting so smart.
Choose the app that fits your investing style.
All right, we don't control all that much in this business, but there's something that I do that I'm going to stop doing right now. Referring to Lev Parnas as an associate of Rudy Giuliani, I'm never saying that again because it's way too limited. He is a full-fledged member of Trump Co. Need to see it for yourself? On the wall, we'll play through, as long as I talk, pictures of him with Trumpers. It's so long, there's so many, that I had to leave pictures out. They're just going to keep scrolling through big player after big player, fundraisers. Yeah, it happens. The president's right. He takes a lot of pictures of people he doesn't know. True. But this is not just one picture. It's not just with one person. It's not just as one time. Why? Because as Parnas told Anderson, his relationship was a lot more than that.
I went from being a top donor, from being at all the events where we would just socialize, to becoming a close friend of Rudy Giuliani's, to eventually becoming his ally and his asset on the ground in Ukraine.
Asset. We kept tying him to Rudy. Why? Because the president, Nunes and Callahan and all these other people said, I don't know him. I never heard about this guy. I don't know who he is. So what? He has a picture. But now that's all been exposed. POTUS knows him. Nunes knows him. Callahan is even in a pic with him. Even the vice president was supposedly aware of his efforts, according to Parnas. Listen.
You're saying Vice President Pence knew?
Well, of course, he knew. Everybody knew.
Bolton.
Mulvaney.
Now, does he have credibility problems? Yup. And frankly, more so than you've seen in these first interviews. He's got to be tested about why he did what he's charged with doing and how that stands up. In fact, I argue it's a reason that the Senate should want him.
The loop. It was no secret.
Same thing Parnas says. But unlike Sondland right there, his perfect call that he had with the president, where the president said, no quid pro quo, right? He had no record of it. The White House has no record of it. The State Department either doesn't have a record of it or won't turn it over. Parnas has documents that stand alone and substantiate his role and what this was about. Like what? Notes about the objective: get Zelensky to announce the Biden case will be investigated. The stated price: get rid of the U.S. ambassador. By the way, that could be a bribe all by itself, just so you know. And that is a price our president willingly paid. And the why matters. The only way to get that answer: witnesses. And when you dig through the pages of the texts, you see names of the president's closest confidants in exchanges with Parnas, the guy nobody knows. Who? The president's son, Don Jr. Namesake. Parnas says he was feeding Don Jr. garbage for his Twitter tantrums. Jay and Rudy, the president's personal lawyers. Parnas says he was riding with them to the White House. This is the kind of evidence that does wonders for the memories of even the most loyal lapdogs.
I remember that call, which was very odd, random, talking about random things. And I said, great, just talk to my staff, and boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, boom, boom, boom. You know what that's the sound of? The truth beating down his door. Parnas's version is, there were calls, and they were helping the top Republican on the House Intel Committee dig up dirt on the president's political rivals. But be clear, Parnas, for all his flaws, is not just some Giuliani associate. He's a first-person witness to everything that the senators have to evaluate. And sure, he has everything to gain by being seen as helpful. But is that any more suspicious than people who swore an oath to serve you, and they're ducking the duty to testify and tell you what they know? That a president refuses to let them go? If you want to question his credibility, and you should, test him at trial. But senators, especially you four, who are being looked at with extra scrutiny by many, can you ignore all we've learned about this president's direction and knowledge and all the attempts to advance his political welfare over our own, arguably bribing Ukraine with money allocated by you, what was done to a sitting ambassador? And if you do ignore it, do you think voters will think you honored your oath to them, to the Constitution, the oath that many of you made to God? Your answer is going to be known soon, and it's going to follow you for a long time. That's the argument. Now, there was another strange thing. It was on the desk of the president today. Why was it there at a school prayer event? Bolo.
Is your cleanser cleansing well? Try Garnier Micellar Cleansing Water. Micelles work like a magnet to remove makeup without rubbing, cleanse without rinsing, even for sensitive skin. It's cleansing reinvented. Micellar Water. And now new Water Rose Micellar Water by Garnier, naturally.
2 years ago, my wife and I were over $50K in debt through SoFi's help refinancing. We paid off all that debt. Now we're debt-free and visiting places like this. Thank you, guys.
700,000 more New Yorkers have health care coverage because Mayor Bloomberg got it done. He'll build on Obamacare with universal coverage and lower the cost of prescription medicine. Mike will get it done.
I'm Mike Bloomberg, and I approve this message.
Stop dancing around the pain that keeps you up again and again. Advil PM silences pain, and you sleep the whole night. Advil PM.
Let's be honest. Every insurance company says they can save you these. In fact, if you had $1 for every time they said it, you'd have a lot of dollars, which makes it hard to believe, especially coming from a talking lizard. Pip pip, cheerio. Look, all I, Dennis Quaid, know is that Esurance is built to save you dollars.
Kira is into problem solving.
On service.
Zach is
and
into
when
exploring.
they save, you save.
Is into
the
helping
only way
them
to know
work
how
together
much
on
is to get a quote. Chances are you'll save time, paperwork, and yes, dollars. When insurance is affordable, it's surprisingly painless.
It's there.
office to celebrate new initiatives protecting religious freedom. Look at the centerpiece. A map of the 2016 election results by county. All red. That's good. But it's about landmass, okay, including lots of areas of the country with small populations. But look, the point is clear, and he's sending it all the time, especially to the senators, and it's making them gulp. Be with me or be against me. What will they do? Be on the lookout. Thank you for watching very much. It is time now for CNN Tonight with B. Lemon.
I had trouble with my earpiece. I missed your bolo. What is it? Tell me again, what was the substance of your bolo?
So it is a prayer event that the president had today. So you would think it'd be about prayerful things. And maybe he was praying that the map will look the same way in 2020 as it did in 2016. Because on his desk,
that an electoral map?
He had an electoral map by county, which of course gives, it's all red, but that's because it's by landmass. But the reason I pointed it out as a bolo is this is the message he's sending to the senators. Even at a prayer, situation about religious freedom. His religion is about himself. And he's saying to the senators, see the map? You're with me or you're against me. And we're going to see which way they decide to do.
By the way, he claims it was his electoral victory was historic. And it wasn't, by the way. He was 46th in electoral victories out of 58 elections. Did you know that?
Yeah.
You would think he was number one. It was a landslide, and it wasn't. By the way, he got less than Obama in both of his elections. Obama got 67.8% of the electoral college in 2008, 61.7 in 2012, and Trump got 56.9.
Yeah. He also lost the popular vote. So he's president of the United States. Fine. We also know that he's about, at best, stretching what is true, and most often abusing the truth and lying when he doesn't even have to. The question is, will senators in his party be the same way? That's what was so upsetting about McSally today. This is a woman with an amazing record of service to this country, and she really acted like a punk today. She did a disservice to herself and the seat that she holds, which is John McCain.
But she wasn't even elected.
Right, she was appointed.
She was appointed. She lost. And through a fluke, like some would say Trump won, but that's a whole other show. But through a fluke, she was appointed. Trump wasn't appointed. He actually won. But through a fluke, she got this seat. And then when she was asked a legitimate question that every single lawmaker, Democrat or Republican, who has anything to do with this impeachment trial, should be asked, do you want to hear new information? Do you want witnesses? Everyone should be asked that question. If you don't want to answer, guess what? You keep it pushing, keep moving. No comment, yes or no. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to degrade someone just because you can't answer the question or because you're afraid you're going to lose to someone who is also very respected back home. And I'm talking about Kelly.
Yeah. Sure. Look, there's no question she's got a tough race on her hands. She's won before. She's won in Congress. She's got an amazing pedigree. The question is she ruining it all right now? Because if you want to be John McCain, you can't be doing what she did today. And there's only going to be one John McCain, but we know why she's doing it. What bothers me isn't what she did. I've seen a lot worse.
No, it bothers me.
It's why, though. Well, we get disrespected all the time. We see politicians do. Look at the president of the United States. That's nothing compared to what he does. But it's why. She wants to impress him. She didn't even support him in 2016. She called him out about his treatment of women. Now, what is she doing? She's
that's what bothers me. The hypocrisy bothers me. And it bothers me that it's acceptable and it's even lauded and applauded among a certain group in our country right now, because that is not acceptable. Listen, we have to do jobs. You may not like it. That is a perfectly acceptable question, and it is not a political question. It is not a biased question. Manu Raju is among the best. And Manu Raju is not a liberal hack. He is a very well-respected, seasoned reporter asking a legitimate question. If she couldn't answer it, if she can't stand the heat, then get out of the appointed kitchen.
There was no
heat. She shouldn't be there.
She's just playing a game, and then she tried to fundraise off it, just like the fundraisers I get from Trump.
I think it's going to backfire. People don't like that.
I'm on the mailing list for the president. He reaches out to me on almost a daily basis. I need you, Chris. It's time, Chris. It's me and you, Chris. Now she's sending the same one. It's just the Trump playbook. The question is, it's just obvious, and we'll see what happens in her own election.
Sad.
It should hurt her.
And it's sad. I think it will. I think people are over it. They're sick of the craziness.
She's just got to be better than this. Her past was. Her present, not so much.
Thank you, sir. See you next time. This is CNN Tonight. I'm Don Lemon. Thank you so much for joining us. The impeachment trial of President Trump officially began today. This was an historic day. Trust me. This is only the third impeachment trial in more than 243 years in this country. And if you didn't see it live this afternoon, I just want to show you some of the key moments. This is history in the making, and it affects every single American. I want you to watch as the Chief Justice, John Roberts, the Chief Judge of the highest court in the nation, is sworn in by Senator Chuck Grassley, presiding in place of the Vice President.
Do you solemnly swear that in all things appertaining to the trial of the impeachment of Donald John Trump, President of the United States, now pending, you will do impartial justice according to the Constitution and the laws, so help you God?
I do.
God bless you.
Thank you very much.
Chief Justice then swearing in the senators.
At this time, I will administer the oath to all senators in the chamber in conformance with Article 1, Section 3, Clause 6 of the Constitution and the Senate's impeachment rules. Will all senators now stand or remain standing and raise their right hand? Do you solemnly swear that in all things appertaining to the trial of the impeachment of Donald John Trump, President of the United States, now pending, you will do impartial justice according to the Constitution and laws, so help you God?
All the senators walking up to the desk in groups of 4 to sign the oath book. One senator, Jim Inhofe, absent because of what his office calls a family medical issue. He'll be sworn in on Tuesday. And here's a dramatic moment when the Sergeant-at-Arms, in language that comes straight out of the Senate rules, he says this.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. All persons are commanded to keep silent on pain of imprisonment while the House of Representatives is exhibiting to the Senate of the United States